God is a taboo. That may sound strange at first, but think about 9/11. Remember that feeling of what seemed almost forgotten? Religion, left behind in the 1960s, suddenly came back in a dark and threatening way. Fanatics from a religion that seemed so medieval destroyed the icon of our secular society, business, at the foot of Wall Street, and suddenly we had to face religion again and go to war against it, literally, using business, science, government, and the army. Religion just seemed like chaos, a threat, not safe. Wasn't it nice for a few decades after the 1960s to just forget about religion? Forget about the Christian God, forget about the church. It was such a relief, wasn't it? After 2,000 years of being told we were sinners, life suddenly became so positive. Being human became positive, and all the old rules and guilt evaporated. When people left the church, they didn't hate religion. They just walked away, indifferent. Business and science was providing everything the church had promised for 2,000 years, but never delivered. God really didn't matter after all. We could do better ourselves. After the 1960s, society never really dealt with the 2,000-year-old threat of salvation. The worry about our safety by the arbitrary judgment of some God just went dormant inside of us, subconscious, out of mind as we simply got on with prosperity and living. Instead of the church always saying no, business was saying yes to everything. What a relief that was. But then on 9/11, the trauma reawoke, like a flashback, and had to be faced, and the old fear of religion seemed so sinister. They didn't do it for humans, for themselves. They did it for God. Something so bizarre, so retro, and religion brought doom once again. At least it was foreigners, and not our old church rising from the grave to control us. We've calmed down from the triggering of that religion trauma over the last 15 years, got it out of our system, reduced the fanatics to simply being another ideology, like communism or feminism. And Christianity continues to slide in Europe and North America, with the current estimates saying in 10 years, churches will be 25% of their size from just 2011, not 1960, but 2011. 4% of Europeans go to church, less than 20% in Canada, less than 40% in the United States. It is the most phenomenal collapse of the most successful institution of all history. The church didn't produce the goods. After 2,000 years, when given their first chance, the people walked. The church is speechless and powerless. All it can do is describe why people abandoned Christianity using secular analysis. Was it really that empty all those years? Now society is empty of it. So where does that leave God, whatever your persuasion? God is all over the place. Just in the church itself, God ranges from the old God the Father to just being love and social justice, to the latest innovation, simply being good. In secular society, most people don't give spiritual matters much thought, especially with the dominance of media and smartphones. But even in the massive secular spiritual industry, God is now called Source, the universe, love. But the common denominator in religion and spirituality is that God is powerless. God wouldn't hurt a flea. God is just love. Who can argue with that? Like all things in today's society, the amount of spiritual knowledge available is massive. Since the church went away, all kinds of spiritualities have come to the fore. It is all splintered, divided and conquered, not a threat to anyone. Powerless, emasculated, the spiritual industry is part of the service industry, like doctors, lawyers, and bankers, no longer godlike professionals, but merely service providers. And if the customer's not happy, they will go find another one. From yesterday's tight-knit understanding of God as a stern father, and his Son the loving relief, spiritual literacy today is all over the map, but also under the public radar, with little input socially outside of the religious right in the United States. What is curious is just how helpless old traditional churches are to staunch their decline. Some churches just keep doing the same thing, like the Anglican Episcopalians. Others, like the United Church of Canada, is wide open with creative services, changing the old words to new ones, anything to catch the eye of contemporary people, hoping it is attractive. Then there are the mega churches, prosperity gospel, rock bands for choirs, to the vacation retreats of Iona and Teze, but nothing works. The secular spiritual industry offers so much more choice. There is Reiki, Buddhism, shaman workshops, the law of attraction, yoga and meditation classes, and even Harry Potter. It seems wonderful after 2,000 years of spiritual repression to have so much reawaken and available to everyone. But with so much, spiritual literacy seems to be missing a common language to bridge each other and with secular society. This prevents the spiritual in society from rising up to become a threat to our freedom and peace of mind, as it once was. It is divided and conquered. We live in the weirdest civilization in history, the most spiritless society in all of history. It happened on the church's watch in this generation. We live in a mind culture, not a spiritual culture, focused on knowledge and the human mind. The human mind is thought to be the center of consciousness in the whole universe, 500 years after Copernicus discovered the Earth was not the center of creation. In the past 50 years, mind culture has gone from the industrial age to knowledge culture, then to the information age, and now the data era. We are a middle-class culture. After having gotten rid of kings and aristocrats in World War I, and left the poverty of farms for the city after the Great Depression. Mind culture, middle-class culture, city culture. Even those who do manual labor have the same middle-class lifestyle as those who do mental labor in their cubicles. Except for a very few homeless people in our society, even the poor have a fridge, couch, TV, and bed. It's hard not to be middle class, and many have become the super rich from building computers in their middle class suburban garages. And there are government programs to give the poor a university education. And now, across the globe, 3 billion Asians rush to have the lifestyle of 600 million Westerners, replicating our society in only decades. And it is middle-class culture that got rid of the kings, aristocrats, mass poverty, and farms, that also got rid of religion, God, and the spiritual as well. Most religions of the world face what has happened in the West. So God in a secular society is a taboo. God is whatever you want that word to mean. And religion dissolves, helpless to know what to do. and the secular spiritual industry thrives. Yet with so much spiritual awakening and religious knowledge, they all seem helpless to transform our spiritually illiterate mind culture.